Hello everyone, today I'll be sharing shading and blending tips for pencil portraits. If you are using graphite or charcoal for your drawings, for your shading. So shading is different from blending, and one thing you need to know is that for shading, not all shading techniques require blending. That is, you can shade in a particular style and it will not be blended. You will not have to soften it, you just leave it that way. And there are some other types of shading that you need to blend to get a smooth texture. And why is shading important? Why is blending important? Shading is important because apart from drawing, apart from having the skill and knowing how to draw well, shading is quite important because it adds depth to your drawings. That is why if you check realistic pictures, the difference between a normal drawing and a realistic drawing is the fact that the shading technique is top notch. So your shading can either make your drawing better or make your drawing worse. Some people have done a particular drawing that looks amazing and shading destroyed everything they've done. There are some pictures that the shading enhances it and even hides some of the flaws of the drawing. So it is important to know how to shade well, because it just gives a better look and makes your drawing look better. It's just like a makeup, it's just like an enhancement to your drawings, whether it's picture drawings, whether it's portraits, whether it's landscape, whatever it might be. I'm going to be giving you some blending tools you can use when blending your pictures that you've shaded. We have different styles of blending, because blending and shading your picture, it helps you to create the texture you want. Shading is very important for texture in a drawing, so it determines how the picture will look. Either it will look realistic or hyper realistic. So if you are looking at hyper realism now or later in the future, shading should not be something you should joke with, and it is one of those things that takes most of your time when drawing. I'll be showing you techniques you can use for shading pencils and for shading pastels. The first blending tool I'll be sharing with you today is tissue. And yes, it is your normal tissue paper. So how do we use this? When you're shading, you can just cut out a little piece. If you are drawing a medium-sized picture, a small piece, even one is enough. But it depends on the size of what you are drawing, then you can make it as big to be able to reach every
this is
corner of that drawing. Especially when you are drawing like babies, when you are drawing baby skin, or drawing someone with extra soft skin. This is very good for skin tones. It gives a very light skin tone and a very smooth texture. But one of the disadvantages of using a tissue paper is that it removes excess graphite. For some pictures where you might need a lot of graphite, or you might need that layer of graphite on your work, using a tissue paper removes a lot of it, because it gives a very smooth and a very light look. So if you don't want that, do not go for tissue paper. You need to know that in drawing a particular piece, you can adopt different blending tools, but I would just suggest you stick with one and master that one well. But if you want different textures for different parts of that drawing, you can use the different blending tools I'll be sharing with you today. The next blending tool I'll be sharing with you is the brush. You can use a brush. So this is an example of one. These ones have tiny mouths. You can go for the bigger ones depending on the size of pictures you are drawing. Personally, I don't really enjoy using brushes, because it does not show you how you can use it if you would prefer using a brush. Now the next blending tool I'll be sharing with you is your fingers. Yes, not all 5 of them, you just need one. Your fingers. But this is like the least preferred method. This is the least preferred tool that I would recommend, because there are a lot of disadvantages already. If you want to use your fingers to blend, some people use it, which I find very strange, and uncomfortable, because some of these materials should not be getting directly on your skin. That's why if you see some of my videos, especially if I'm working with pastels, I'm always wearing my gloves. I used to be a victim of that before. I was also part of those that would use the skin directly, but after realizing my mistake, I started using gloves. And you can use the normal latex gloves. I'm going to show you an example of such glove. This is what I use. If I want to use my fingers to blend. This is what I use for my pencil portraits, for my pastels. But I use this mostly for my pastels, not really for pencil portraits, because I don't really like blending with my fingers. So one of the disadvantages of blending with the fingers, directly with your fingers, not using gloves now, is for people who have sweaty palms. It will be very difficult and uncomfortable, because you might end up smudging your work. You might end up making a mess out of your work, because just imagine pouring water. Well, now this is sweat. Your work will look messy, it will look rough, it will not look presentable, and nobody will be willing to pay for that. And even if you are not selling it, it will not be something pleasant to look at. So that is one of the major disadvantages: sweaty palms. And there are some people that suffer from that more than others. Some people tend to have more sweaty palms than other people. I have quite dry palms, so I don't really have that issue, but I still don't like blending with my fingers. So I would not suggest you use your fingers at all and go for the other blending tools. But at the end of the day, it is left to you to decide which one is most suitable for you. The next tool I'll be sharing with you is the blending stump. This is one of my favorite blending tools, because it just gives you the results you want. And I'm going to be showing you some of the blending stumps I use, some of the blending that I made myself, and that I have. But they come in different sizes, so if you want to go in for details, use the smaller ones, and for the big areas of your drawing, the larger areas, you go for the one with bigger tips. It's good for skin tones, it's good for cloths, it's good for basically anything you want to shade. Just you knowing how much pressure to apply and how little pressure to apply to each piece you are making. And now the last but not the least is the wool. This is my personal favorite tool to use all day, every day, which I would recommend every single time. Wool gives you, it spreads the graphite evenly, it spreads your charcoal evenly, it does not remove a lot of graphite from your work, it maintains it, it distributes that graphite evenly. There's just this texture it gives when you use it on your work, and it's very good for skin tones, it's good for cloths, it's good for backgrounds, it's good for everything. The only thing is that you cut it according to the size of what you want to do. There are some tiny details that I will just need something as little as this, and there are some that I will need as big as this, maybe for the background or for the outfit that the person is wearing. These are the blending tools I will be sharing with you today, and I hope you put them to practice. With time, you get better and better with each of these blending tools. This is Faith the Consecrated. Thank you for staying till the end. I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.